Back in the day, many years ago, there was an English writer who wrote something about sound and fury signifying nothing. Well, that writer well, it's not important, okay, it was William Shakespeare, but let's move on beyond it. The sound and fury signifying nothing, to me in soccer terms, is a team that looks really, really good, but gets very little accomplished at the very end. And it is a very appropriate description of a current Confederations Cup host, Russia. Now, if one goes back to the end of the Soviet Union, which had a dubious history politically, but certainly a fairly significant history in terms of its soccer teams, having played in the final of the Euros 4 times and won it once. Since 1992, when the Soviet Union collapsed and the CIS team, the Commonwealth of Independent States, first appeared at the Euros 92, Russia has been arguably one of the greatest disappointments in the world soccer. Well, outside of England, but we'll get to that and Bill Shakespeare later. The problem with what one sees with Russia is that it can manage to look very good for short periods of time, thereby, and shortly after, failing to achieve its objective. In '92, it opened great against Germany, was unlucky to have tied the match, and a very late equalizer by Thomas Hässler. But then it lost to Scotland and went out. It lost to Scotland 3-0 in the last group stage. In '94, when it came to the United States for the World Cup, Russia lost to Brazil, lost to Sweden, and ended up crushing Cameroon 6-1. In '96, it dominated the eventual finalist Czech Republics, only to tie the match to allow a tying goal at the very end, and also going out early at the group stage. And on and on and on and on. Okay, the worst thing was happening in 2009 when it lost to Slovenia 1-0 and didn't qualify for the World Cup, even under goose hitting. And this is something that's very odd about teams. Russia can look very good and then ultimately achieve very little. Now they're playing at home, they're getting ready for the World Cup next year, also in Russia. So we'll see what happens to them. I don't have very high hopes in the long term because there is a pattern to their performances. But they'll try to do well this time and see if it leads anywhere. It's a pretty decent roster. They have a lot of talent, good speed, good skill that will probably fail at the end. Salute.